This story is funny, but it's also a little bit frustrating. It does a really good job of demonstrating women's sense of entitlement in modern society when it comes to dating standards, and also demonstrates a complete lack of understanding of male sexuality. The title from today's post is "Guy I'm Dating Accidentally Sent Me a Picture from His Spank Bank." I've been dating a guy I met on Hinge for a week now. I'm 25 and he is 26. We really hit it off and have already seen each other 3 times, one of those times being a sleepover. We haven't had sex, and he has made it clear that he wants to be exclusive with me. I know that sounds crazy soon, call me Ariana Grande, you know. I don't understand that reference. But we seriously have so much in common and such a great connection. Tonight we went out on a date, and he kept telling me how beautiful I looked and how much he loved hanging out with me, which is typical behavior for him. When I got home, we were texting, and that's when it happened. He accidentally sent me a screenshot from this Instagram model story. Of course, the picture is 50% tits. I instantly died because the picture heavily played into my insecurities, being that I am flat-chested and I am a brunette. This girl was blonde. He instantly said, wow, he was embarrassed, but I already felt my heart collapsing. I mean, Jesus Christ, he just asked me to be exclusive. You can't masturbate to my Instagram pictures? Like a gentleman? I told him that it was an honest mistake and that I was going to bed. He called me 4 times trying to explain, and then resigned and said goodnight. He sent me a long text an hour-ish later explaining that he was sorry and that he wasn't sure what was going through my head, but reassured me that she was just an Instagram model and that he was planning on using the picture for his personal use later. Honestly, I am so bothered by this, but as you can see, I did my best not to be crazy. Is this a red flag? Alright, that's the story. Up next, my analysis. Okay, the first thing let's talk about is this woman's expectations. They haven't even slept together, they're barely in a relationship, expecting him to no longer masturbate to pictures and images of other women? If she has even the most basic understanding of men and male sexuality, she had to assume that this was a possibility, right? I mean, it's a sort of don't ask, don't tell sort of situation. You don't bring it up like, by the way, I masturbate to images of other women, but she has to know that this is a realistic possibility. It's one of those things where most women are probably aware that their partners look at pornography, they look at other women, and are generally okay with that as an abstract fact. But emotionally, I can understand it probably hurts a lot more if you actually witness it going on. And in this case, there's really no escaping it. He sent you a picture from his spank bank. Never heard that term before. I like it. And so it's right there in her face. And yeah, she's upset. She's going to have a reaction to that. However, I do think that her reaction gives some interesting insight into what beliefs she has around relationships. Beliefs that I think are pretty toxic. Based on her reaction, I would guess that she thinks that it's a boyfriend's role to make sure that she doesn't feel insecure, that she always feels beautiful and desirable. And so if she's a brunette and has small tits, then he should never demonstrate any kind of behavior that makes her think that he's into anything other than brunettes with small tits. But if you're insecure about your looks, that's not your partner's job to remove that insecurity. The most obvious reason is that that is impossible. You can't control another person's behavior to that extent. If you're feeling insecure about your appearance, you need to deal with that yourself. If you push that responsibility onto your partner, then you're quickly entering a codependent dynamic, which is toxic at its core. Sooner or later, this woman is going to have to confront her insecurities about her appearances. Let's just assume the best case scenario. Let's assume that he is into brunettes with small tits and has no eyes for anybody else, and she goes for 10, 20 years without feeling remotely insecure. That's the best case scenario, but it's still not foolproof. Even if you succeed in this crazy codependent dynamic, at some stage, you're going to get old, you're going to get wrinkled. All women age, and you will too. And here's a fact of reality, men like young women. And so, if you're walking down the street as 2 80-year-olds and a beautiful 20-year-old girl walks past, his head is going to turn slightly. If that's still going to trigger your insecurities and you're going to point at him and say, you should only find me attractive, you're just in for a miserable life. So I'm not judging, but for your own sake, you need to deal with this because you're going to make yourself upset again and again and again. Another fact that I think that this woman needs to confront, even if it makes her very uncomfortable, is the fact that men are not sexually monogamous. We can do monogamy, we can be potentially emotionally monogamous, but on a sexual level, we respond to variety. It is hardwired into our brains. It's not a choice, it's biology. Now, I'm not saying that monogamy is a bad thing or that we shouldn't be practicing monogamy. I'm just saying that fundamentally, for a man, it's not really natural, even if it does have tremendous social and emotional benefits. But the fact is that every man who's entering into a monogamous relationship is crushing a part of themselves. They're crushing that desire for sexual variety. They're agreeing to limit themselves. They are making a sacrifice. Now, it's not a completely warrantless sacrifice. It's not like they're getting nothing in return. On a cost-benefit analysis, a lot of men would be happy to enter into a monogamous relationship if it means giving up sexual variety. But the fact that you would still choose monogamy doesn't mean that it's natural to you or that you're not missing out on something or have a grieving process when it comes to all of the sexual partners that you're never going to explore. I would love to see our society make a general acknowledgement of this sacrifice from men. If all women could just say to their partners, I understand that sexual monogamy for you is a sacrifice, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate that. One of the obvious downsides of this monogamous culture that we live in is it has led women to feel entitled to be the only object of desire of their partner. Like this woman, she thinks that it's completely reasonable to expect that he should only look at her, that he should only masturbate to her Instagram photos. Asking a man to find you and only you sexually attractive is unrealistic and it's unfair. You are committing violence against what's natural to his biology. It's a terrible state of affairs because monogamy is not only seen as a social good, but also a moral and virtuous choice. And the result has been that men have come to hate their own nature, to look at their sexual desires for other women and feel like there's something wrong with them, that they're a deviant, that there's something dirty and nasty about their sexuality. I've mentioned this many times on my channel, but just in case the message still hasn't gotten through, men, do not feel ashamed for the fact that you have sexual desires for a variety of women. That is normal and that is natural. Do not hate yourself for that. That doesn't give you permission to lie to your partner or to sleep with anybody that you like, but at least don't feel guilty about the impulse or the desire. Man's desire for sexual variety is true no matter what. It doesn't matter how hot you are, the Coolidge effect will still take over. So for all women, please, to make yourselves less miserable, understand this truth. It doesn't matter how hot you are. Men will always crave sexual variety, and the fact that they do doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. Like with this girl, you're a brunette and you've got small tits. The fact that he also likes big-titted blonde girls doesn't necessarily mean that he's not into you. He just likes variety. I really hope that the woman from this story, and men and women in general, cure themselves of this Hollywood fantasy because it's making everybody miserable. Men feel like deviants and failures because they can't live up to the moral standards set for them and only feel sexual desire for one woman, and women feel inadequate because their partner has wandering eyes. All because of this false belief that it is reasonable to expect men to only sexually desire one woman. We could rid ourselves of so much unnecessary suffering if we could get rid of these unrealistic expectations and get in touch with reality. Now, we've covered the woman and her beliefs pretty extensively, but let's have a look at the male and how he handled this situation, because I think he did a terrible, terrible job. He accidentally sends this photo. I don't know how that could have happened, what exactly he was typing on his phone that accidentally sent this, but okay, it's done now. No point crying over spilled milk. Let's look about what he could have done in the aftermath, because I think he did the exact wrong thing in these over-the-top apologies and calling and texting and texting. What he should have done was just owned it. I'm a male, I'm sexual, full stop. To call her 4 times comes across as so needy, like such a beta male kind of thing to do. It's extremely unattractive. This guy needs to understand that frame is everything. I can almost guarantee that this situation has never occurred to this woman before. She doesn't know what to make of it to start off with. Like, yeah, it's upsetting, but how upset should she be? She's going to look around her environment for clues as to gauge her emotional reaction, whether or not it's in line with reality or not. Now, she's upset, and you are absolutely feeding into her emotions by giving her all of the evidence that she needs that what you've done is a terrible thing and that she has every right to be upset. She's thinking, wow, look how much he's apologizing. Yeah, this really must be a big deal. He must have really screwed up. I have a right to be this upset because if I didn't, why else would he be acting like this? Essentially, she's making it a big deal because you did. If he had just laughed it off, owned his sexuality, then she would have looked at his behavior and thought, Wow, I'm upset, but he doesn't seem to think this is a big deal. I guess it's not. Frame is absolutely everything, and in this instance, his frame was terrible. Up next, I'm going to look at some of the comments from this Reddit post, see what other people thought about this situation. Small boobs are super sexy. You'll be happy when you're older and still have cute perky boobs, and all those Instagram models are sagged down to their belly buttons. In brackets, sorry, big-breasted women. Yeah. No, that's true. Big-breasted women are not going to age well. Saggy boobs are not attractive. This is one area where small-breasted women have a definite advantage. There are a few other things that I find concerning, namely 1, the fact that you're both so eager to commit after only 1 week of knowing each other. 2, the fact that he blew you up with so many texts and calls begging for forgiveness for such a stupid thing. And 3, the fact that you're taking something like this so seriously when you hardly even know the guy. That is an on-point comment. Absolutely. Why is the commitment story so strong after barely knowing each other? Why has this become such a big deal? I think that is absolutely the real issue. When men do this, or jerk off, it's never anything to do with the girl that we're with. Like, it's a completely separate emotion, similar to watching a regular movie or playing video games. We see it as entertainment, and we see the girl as a fictional character. We're not wishing this girl was with us in real life. Absolutely. Watching pornography and seeing the girls on the screen doesn't necessarily mean that you wish you were in a relationship with that woman. Male sexuality can be absolutely divorced from emotions and commitment. And if you don't understand that, and you assume that every girl that he's jacking off to, he wants to be with rather than you, you're going to make yourself completely miserable. It's just indicative that we have not done enough education in our society on male sexuality so that women are genuinely confused about this. His persistence does worry me. He's clearly super into you. I've also been in his shoes when I was younger and head over heels over a girl and ruined my chances by being overzealous. It's not necessarily a red flag, it just means he isn't confident in himself and is going to need a lot of validation from you that you want him around. Yeah, there is a red flag in this story, but it's not the fact that he's masturbating to other women. It's the way that he handled this in the aftermath with all the beta male begging and clingy and that need for validation that the commenter alluded to. That's the red flag. You're overthinking this, honestly. There are married men who still watch porn and stuff. Yep, that hits the nail on the head exactly. There is a problem here, but the problem is you and your beliefs, not the circumstances. That's the end of the video. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have a story that you'd like me to do a video on, make sure to send me a private email. If you want to support the creator, then click on the link below that'll take you to our Patreon page where you can join the community. I post there daily. It'd be lovely to have you over there. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.